record it while I'm talking about it. On the very front cover of your textbook, at the very bottom of that textbook page, there are all of your different formulas that you run across in this section. It has your geometric formulas, it has the volume formulas, it has your application formulas. These we use not only in this class, but we also use those in intermediate algebra as well. And it talks a little bit about set stuff in there, but we don't get into a whole lot of set things outside of when we get into inequalities with absolutes, where you got to get some different combinations of stuff that go in there. But these formulas you need to know. They don't appear. So sometimes on your test you may run across something that says the perimeter of a rectangle, but it won't give you the formula there. So make sure that you start learning these and start to know what ones you've got in there and what ones are being used at that point. So that's your main formulas for Chapter 3. So let's take a look at 3.1. And in 3.1, the big thing in 3.1 is that we need to be able to manipulate these formulas and solve for any letter that they ask us to solve for. So in 3.1, it's not only working with the formulas, but it's also going through and saying if I had to solve for a letter. So if we had an interest formula, interest equals principal times rate times time, and it tells you to solve for t. How am I going to get t all by itself? Well, if I take a look at this formula and I analyze what's going on in it, p is being multiplied by r, and that's being multiplied by t at the tail end. So how do I get rid of something that's multiplying something from Chapter 2? How do I get divided? So in this case, I equals p rt. If I want t by itself, I'm not going to divide by t, but I'm going to divide by everybody but t. So I'm going to divide by p, and I'm going to divide by r, so that p cancels and r cancels, and it leaves me with t is equal to I over p r. Okay? So that becomes the solution that I have with that one. So I'm going to do that division stuff. So I got to look at it and see what it's asking me to do. If they gave you another one, such as perimeter equals 2L plus 2W, what's that the perimeter of? Perimeter of a rectangle. And it says solve for W. How am I going to get W by itself? Well, again, go back and read your problem. It's 2 times L plus 2 times W. So if I want to get W by itself, how do I get rid of the other pieces in there? Minus what? Minus 2L. So that leaves me with P minus 2L equals 2W. And then, divide by 2. These 2's cancel, so I find W is equal to P minus 2L all over 2. And so I can solve it in that direction to come up with what my solution would happen to be for that. And so that's the combinations that you start looking at and you start going through and solving for. One of the tougher ones to solve for, to get it all by itself, is a trapezoid. And we do area of a trapezoid. And the area of a trapezoid is A equals 1/2 the height times B plus little b. Or in Hawks, they write this as A equals 1/2 H times A plus C, I think.
Yeah.
That way they don't B plus C. B plus C. And so if that's my formula to find the area of my trapezoid, and they say, we better use the Hawks one instead of this one. I like this one better, but you gotta use what Hawks has. And it says solve for C. How am I going to solve for C? So I got to again look at it and say, what's going on in here? What's taking place? Well, it's 1/2 times H times this whole piece added together. So what do you think we should get rid of first?
distribution.
Okay, so get rid of this piece. And you are thinking you want to take this and times it by this, and this and times it by that? Is that what you're thinking? Well, you could. So that's going to give me A equals 1/2 H times B plus 1/2 H times C. So if I do that, now what do I got to do? So C's over here, so how do I get it by itself? 1/2 HB. So that leaves me with A minus 1/2 HB is equal to 1/2 HC. Now how am I going to get C by itself? What was it? Do I want to subtract? I divide, because these are multiplying C. So I divide by, whoops, not a negative, divide by 1/2 H. And so I find C looks like this ugly looking thing, which is A minus 1/2 HB all over 1/2 H. Ugly looking because it's got a lot of fractions and a lot of stuff in there to do. Where we could do it this way, is that a right answer? Sure, that's perfectly correct. The other way, though, of doing this one is A equals 1/2 H times B plus C, is to get rid of the half first. And you do that by multiplying by 2. 2 times A is 2A. This 2 times this half, what happens to that?
Goes away.
They cancel. These guys go away. Okay? So that leaves me with H times B plus C. Now, I don't have to multiply 2 times B and 2 times C, because when I multiply it by this piece, this is multiplied by this, it takes care of that 2. And so that 2 is really gone. It's not there at all. It's wiped out. So now I could divide by H, and that leaves me with 2A over H is equal to B plus C. Yep. And then if I want to get C by itself, all I do is minus B. And I'm left with 2A over H minus B is equal to C. A little nicer looking, okay? Still the same. They're both identical to each other. It's just this one looks a little bit nicer than that one, okay? So either one of those ends up working out, okay, correctly. Yes or no on getting the letter by itself? What do you think? More? Need to do more of them or not?
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right. Let's do another one. Circumference equals 2 pi r. And solve for r. How am I going to get r by itself? Divide by 2 pi. And I find out that r is equal to C all over 2 pi. And that would be my answer. Let's see, what else do they give you? That's probably about the oh. Celsius equals 5/9 times F minus 32, and solve for F, or for Fahrenheit. So what happens with that one? I gotta solve for the Fahrenheit in there. What should I do first? Distribute? I'm going back with one of those ugly looking things if I do that. So how do I get rid of 5/9? Or how do I get rid of 9? We can get rid of 9. Times it by 9. Everybody in there. 9 times C is 9C. Equals 5 times F minus 32.
Well, you wouldn't, 5 9 by 32?
No, because this is just like a solid piece in here.
Oh, okay.
If I distribute it, the 9 would still cancel out of each of those. So I still wouldn't have 9 in there at all. So no, you don't distribute it by the other parts in there. So now what do you want to get rid of? So now you could distribute if you wanted to and get 9C equals 5F minus 5 times 32 is 160. And we're going to get f by itself, so what should I do now? Yeah. Add 160. Gives me 9c plus 160. Whoops, no parenthesis is there. Is equal to 5f. My pen's dying. Let me find something else. So, now how do I get rid of the 5? So this is really 9c plus 160 equals 5f. Divide by 5, and I find f is equal to 9c plus 160 all over 5. And that would be my solution. Okay? So you're just kind of manipulating and getting something by itself to see what your values come out to be with that one. Okay, you're not okay? Okay. Now the other thing they do in this section is they will give you your information that goes with it. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to go into Hawks here. So we're going to put that guy on hold. Go into Hawks, go into 3.1. We're going to practice. Because now we'll get an idea of how this stuff all fits together in here. It's kind of easier than having you write stuff all out of what you need. They give you a choice to pick from. First it says, do you know, or you know the perimeter of a square to be 9 meters. Find the length of one side. So which formula do I need to do? So choose the correct formula. P equals 4s. Okay. So we're going to submit that one.
Bit sometimes. And now it's saying, without substitution, solve the formula P equals 4s. And I gotta get this guy out of there. If your keypad bugs you, you can put it over here and it fits nicely right in that spot, so then it's out of your way. It says, without substitution, solve the formula P equals 4s for the unknown variable s in terms of the known variable P. Enter the written equation in the box. So now what you got to do is, it's not hop right in to solve it and figure out what s happens to be, but how am I going to get s by itself? What would I have to do? Divide by 4. And so I find out these 4's cancel. So P is equal, or P over 4 is equal to S. So now I need to put that in here. So we need to put in S equals fraction P over 4. Let me get it in the box. 4. And hit submit, and hopefully we are okay. And then it will ask you what the answer is. So you got 3 steps sometimes to these problems of what you have to put in there. And so 2.25? 2.25, because we've taken 9 and divided it by that. Or is that exact? I think that's exact. Because your answer is 9 divided by 4, and so you get an exact answer. For that one, and so that comes out to be your answer. Okay? But you got those steps to go through. So in some of these, you got to slow down a minute. You got to solve for your letter that you happen to have, and then go from there. Some other ones, you just solve for a letter. So what would my answer be for this one? 2 pi RH, and solve for h. So h would end up equaling, do I need a fraction, or can I just write it out without a fraction? Need a fraction, don't we? So my answer is L over, and what goes in the bottom? 2 pi, whoops, R. And we should be okay. Okay. But that's the kind of thing you got to do in this set.
Let's skip around here some and let's see what else we come up with. I just want to make sure. The perimeter of a triangle, which formula? The second
one, A plus B plus C. And then, of course, you would end up solving for what you have in there. Here's a thermometer one. It says Sheila is planning a vacation. The travel agent says the average high temperature for the resort is 20 degrees Celsius. What is the equivalent Fahrenheit temperature? So which formula do I use? Which one? Second one. Okay. No, get that out of there. And then we got to manipulate it. We did that over here because we ended up solving for F before. Remember we did that one before? So what did we have? You guys got your notes out there. What did we have? We had F equals, what did we do with that one? F equals
9C equals 5F minus 32.
Okay, I got to go with my fraction, didn't I? So I had 9C minus, or plus 160 over 5. And let's see if we got it right with this one. And then finally, let's convert it. So that's the next phase. So the next phase, I'd have to plug it back in and come up with, what would I come up with? If I did that one. So if I plug in my value that I happen to have there, and I would take 9 times 20, which is 180. 180 minus 160, or plus 160, 180 plus 160. And then divide that by 5. What's my new temperature? Do you want to be outdoors or not? What is it? 68. Everybody agree? Or is it warmer than 68? Is it 68 degrees? Let's find out. 68. We'll see if it works. Yep. So 68 degrees, so that wouldn't be bad to be outside in with that one. But you got the idea, do you think? Yeah. With those? Okay. And it's just whatever pops up. Again, you're going to pick stuff, go through and solve your stuff. Now your test will be just like that. Your test will have it broken into parts, but each of these parts will be worth some values as well. So I'm going to end that practice. And we're going to get out of this part. And so that's the piece that you have with that part. Okay, 3.2 is looking at geometry as well. And in the geometry in 3.2, we're only dealing with, in your textbook, if you look at your equations in there, and somehow I am out of focus here. I have to focus back up. There we go. That's better. Is those formulas that I was telling you about, and they're the ones that are in here, and it will be these that are on that other spot that are in the book as well. So, whoops, I'm moving up a little bit. So it's these and these values. Now the thing that happens in 3.2 is they do some combination shapes. So they may give you a rectangular bottom and a triangular top. And within this, they'll give you some measurements. They might say that this is 9 feet and this is 32 feet. And they'll drop down a height in here and tell you the height is 7 feet. And they'll ask you, what is the area of your shape? So find the area. And if I go to find my area in here, I need how many formulas to do this one?
2 formulas.
2. And a rectangle. Yes. So I need a triangular formula. And my triangular formula for area is, what's that one? 1/2 the base times the height. Yep, 1/2 base times height. So that would be my area formula. And what do I know about my triangle? Well, I know its base is what? What's the base of my triangle?
9.
And its height is 7. So what does that work out to be? So 0.5 times 9 times 7. What will I get? What was it?
31.5.
31.5, and we're measuring in feet. So it's feet squared. So as soon as I go to area, I got to square my value in there. I want to make sure I square it. And then we have a rectangle. And what is the area of a rectangle? Area is what? The formula.
R equals 2L plus maybe 2W plus 2L.
Length times width. There we go. Now we got it out there. You're going to be perimeter if you said 2L plus 2W. So it's not a perimeter, it's an area. So what's my measurements to do that part? So that's going to be 32 times 9. And 32 times 9?
288.
Okay. But I'm not done yet, because that's also feet squared. So now to fit the whole shape's area, I need to take those two and add them together. So 31.5 plus 288 gives me a total area of, one more time?
291.5.
0.5?
0.15, sorry.
Point,
Oh, wow.
can't be. Can't be. Well, don't agree. All you're doing is taking 31.5 and adding it to 288.
19.5.
319.5. That sounds better. Feet squared. Yeah, that sounds better. I don't know what happened with yours.
Here.
What was that?
Oh,
I think you put the decimal off. That's what happened. You put 3.15 in there. That's what gave you that. Yeah. Okay. Another one they give you is a cone, and they say find the perimeter.
Well, would it be a circle and a triangle?
Yeah? A half circle and a parts of a triangle only. And they'll give you a measurement in here, and they might say this is 8, this is 9, and this is 7. And we need to find out what our two pieces will be. So we got this half circle thing. What's the formula? Do I need an area or a circumference? What do I need for this one? You don't know. If we're doing perimeter, remember it's walking around the outside edge of my shape, and so I need a circumference. Okay, circumference of my circle. So what's my formula for that one?
Circumference equals
2 pi r, or what else does it equal? Pi times a diameter. That's my 2. Which one should I use?
pi times diameter.
Yep, because
You got diameter.
I have a diameter. Yep. So, but I want to have half of it because this is the whole amount. So really I want 1/2 pi times the diameter, or 1/2 times 3.14 times 7. And what does that equal?
0.14 times 7. Divide by 2. 1099.
One more time.
1099.
10.99.
I got it.
That's what you got? Okay, rounded it off.
You didn't have to just.
That's it? Okay. So that is the half circle, but then I've got this piece. How do I find its perimeter?
Triangle.
It's not a full triangle though, is it? Because I don't need this piece. All I need is these two pieces added together. So basically I just need to add a side plus a side. So 9 plus 8 will give me 17. And then add them together. 2799 square, and I didn't give you a measurement. We'll put inches on there. Square inches. And that will be my solution to that one. Okay? So you get your pieces in there that you happen to have with that. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes?
Why did you use the 1/2?
Oh, why did I use a half up here?
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a full circle. I only had a half a circle. Okay? If I use the full amount, then what that would have meant is that I had a full circle coming out down there. Okay? Now, if your shape would have changed and you had a full circle sitting on top of a triangle, then you would have used the full thing. Okay? But they don't give you any that look like that either. But then you would have the whole thing. But otherwise I had a half. Okay. We all right with that one? Or you still got questions? Okay. What about an area? Can we do that one of that same kind of shape? So what if I had a half circle over top of a cone, diameter 7, the height of my triangle is 6, this side is 8, and this side is 7. What would I have happen to that one? So I got to figure it out. So what formulas? And this time I want area. So how am I going to get an area of that thing?
So, with the area, you would go, so do the area of the half circle, the area would be A equals pi r squared. And then so we do that and then divide that by 2 then?
Right. So 1/2 pi r squared. So if I plug in stuff, I've got a half. I have 3.14, but do I have a radius? My radius is
7.
half a 7. So what's half a 7? 3.5. But I got to square that. So make sure that you put all that in your calculator correctly. So what does this end up equaling? So 0.5 times 3.14 times 3.5 squared, and hit equals, and we will find out what we've got.
I don't know if this is right.
Let's try it.
Wait, hold on. I got 19.23.
19.23, we all agree? Or don't we agree?
I don't know if anybody else is even paying attention.
I don't know either. I'm kind of wondering. I think some are. I think this, you got a lot of them paying attention on that side. I think so. What do we got happening with this one? Is that right? Do we all agree or we not agree?
I just need to know if I'm right or not. I agree.
I'm trusting you guys out there, so come on.
I don't really want to leave it have things in my hand.
Well, I don't want to leave it on here and not have the right answer either. So 0.5 times 3.14 times 3.5 squared equals
That's what I got.
19.23. You're perfect.
All right.
Okay. Now I need to find the triangle part in there.
All right. This is where I got confused at.
So
because
what's my area of a triangle?
the area of a triangle?
1/2 the base times the height. Yes. So what do I know? Well, I know that my height is 6, but what's my base?
Would be
7. Yep. My base is 7 because that's this part of the triangle. Your height always drops to your base, so we always know that. So in this one, it's 1/2 times the base, which is 7, times the height, which is 6. And so, what do we end up with? 21.
Oh, wait.
And we'll just give you centimeters for your measurements here. So 21 centimeters squared and 19.23 centimeters squared for the other one. So what's my total area?
40.23 centimeters squared.
20, what was it, 31?
No,
Oh,
40
okay, I see. I was like, wow.
40.23 centimeters squared.
Okay.
Plus
40.23 centimeters squared will be our total area of that one. All right or not all right? Okay. Then they give you some volume ones in there. Now the thing about volumes is that with a volume, you always need to pay attention to whatever your base is. So volumes, figure out the base. And multiply it by the height. Yep. So in the case of this one, what's my shape of my base? Well, my base is a rectangle. So if this is 3 inches by 4 inches by 7 inches in my measurements, what will come out of it for volume? The base is a rectangle, so that's going to be 3 times 4, because length times width times height, and the height is 7, so 3 times 4 times 7, what's that going to give you? 3 times 4 times 7.
84.
Yep. Equals 84. Now because it's volume, it becomes cubed. So it becomes inches cubed. Okay? Now, if my base would have been a triangle, I don't know if I can draw a triangle one or not in here. I'll try it. Yeah, it doesn't look quite right. I guess my point up here should have been the other way.
There you go.
There, we got it going right. This takes a little bit to get it going the right way. So if my base is a triangle, then what I need is the formula for 1/2 the base times the height times the big height of the whole shape. Okay? So it's this piece that clues you into whatever you happen to have, of whatever your shape happens to be. If it's a cylinder, again, my base shape is a circle. So what's the area of a circle? Pi r squared. Times, because it's volume, times the height. Always whatever that base happens to be is what you have in your volume formulas. And so you've got those pieces in there. So make sure that you keep that in mind, that whatever your volume happens to be, it's the base shape, whatever that bottom piece looks like that you're working with to come up with what your values are. So that's kind of a hint. So if you know all your area formulas, you can find your volume formulas just by multiplying by height. Now the ones that get a little tricky with your volumes are the cones, or the pyramids, because if you look at these shapes, the only thing you've got is you've still got your base. So my base in my cone is still pi r squared, whoops, times my height, but because it's a cone, I need a third in there. So I take a third of whatever that shape happens to be. Oops, I'm off the screen there. Take a third of whatever that shape happens to be that I have in there. Triangles, same thing. Base of a triangle is 1/2 the base times the height times the other height of your shape, but because it's a pyramid, you want 1/3 of it. So the 1/3 always comes in with pyramids. And I don't know how many of those you actually get into hawks, but they're there, and they end up being the shapes that you got to watch out for. So it's this base, whatever your height happens to be, but then 1/3 of it for your shape. If you had a rectangular pyramid, then the same kind of thing happens with it. Again, square base, so that is a side times a side, or s squared, times the height, but take a third of it. So you're going to get 1/3 of that piece in there. Okay? Yes or no? I think we hit on all of the different ones. Let's go back in here to Hawks and see if we've got some other ones that might pop up in here that we didn't quite talk about. Parallelograms, length or base times height is what you use for that one. And in these, it's only asking you for your
answer. So this would be 18.7 times 15.5
to get your answer. See if we get a double shape at all. A square, side times a side. I think you're okay with that one too. I want to find one that's got double patterns in here. There we go. There's one. Similar to the one we did earlier, because you've got your half circle up here. You've got your diameter there. And so it says find the perimeter. Do I need the diameter? Yeah, I need diameter for perimeter. And that's just like we saw before. So it's going to be 1/2 times pi times your diameter. And you get that answer. Then add these two pieces together and come up with that answer. So what does this one work out to be? You guys see what you can do with it out there. See if you get an answer for it. Well, in the meantime, let's go back and let me write my pieces down here. And let's see if we can go back and solve that thing. Shrink that guy and shrink this one. And so here it is, and we needed to find the perimeter of it. So I need to take pi times the diameter, but I want half of it because I only have a half a circle. So 1/2 times 3.14 times 5.5 or 4.58. What's that equal? One more time? 7.11? Okay. 9. Okay, 19 then?
Yeah.
Okay. Then, if I want this part, all I simply do is take 5.25 plus 5.85 and end up with 11.1. Okay. Add the two together. 18.29, and let's see if that's what Hawks likes us to have. And we'll put it in here as an answer and see if they like it. 18.29.
And see if we get it right. Ooh, error. Uh-oh. Try again. Go back and check our pieces here. We got 0.5 times 3.14 times 4.58. That gave me 7.19. Okay, 5.25 plus 5.85 equals 11.1. That perimeter. Did I write something down wrong? No. Plus 7.19.
Maybe it's because around,
Oh, round to the nearest thousandth. That's probably what our problem is. Okay, if we round to the nearest thousandth, that is probably what it is. 191. And then add that to the other, so I need a 1 at the end of this, don't I? Let's put a 1 down there and see if it likes this better. Helps if we read and get our thousands in there. Yay, I like this now. Okay. Yes or no? We okay? Okay. Area of a rectangle is 196.
Square inches. If the length is 14, find the width. So we gotta
Plug that stuff in. That's like what you did in the last section, so I think you should be okay, correct? Okay. All right, we're gonna get out of this one. And we're gonna catching up. 3.3 is all story problems. And you can hear the moans out there, all of you. That's why I gave you your handout that you have that has all of these story problems written out on it. So let's take a look at what we have to do with these. Now, whenever you do story problems, the first thing you're going to want to do is read it carefully. Now, some of these have a formula you use with them, and some of them do not. The two formulas that you have, so look for a formula. The formulas is distance equals rate times time. We use it here. We also use it in intermediate algebra. It seems like distance equals rate times time follows through everything. Or the other one that we have is interest equals principal times rate times time. Those end up showing up in this part as well. So then you're going to figure out assign variables. So if you're going to assign a variable, you're going to look for the thing you know the least about. You're going to look for that thing you don't know anything about. Step 4 is come up with the equation. And step 5 is solve it. And finally, step 6 is check to see if what you came up with is a good idea and is a good answer for what you have for your problem. Okay, ready to start these? As ever will be. Okay, the first one. Distance equals rate times time. So we're going to multiply it out and see what we got. It says a motorist averages 52 miles per hour on the first part of the trip and 64 miles per hour on the last part of the trip. If the total trip of 298 miles took 5 hours, what was the time of each part of the trip? So what are we looking for in here? The easiest way to do these is to come up with a box of what they represent. So distance, rate, and time. And so what do we have? We have two parts. We have first part and we have the second part. What pieces do I know for information that I can put in my charted piece? Motorists average 52 miles per hour the first part of the trip and 64 miles the last part. So what are these in my formula? They're rates. So going, or the first part, was 52 miles per hour. The second part was 62. We okay with that so far? Okay. It says if the total trip was 298, so that means my total... Yep, should be. Thank you. Yeah, I get going and not put my right thing in there. No, you're fine. I'd rather have you catch me now than later on. The total distance is 298. So 298 is what the total thing has taken me to do. So what else do I have? Well, I got hours in here. 5 hours was what the time was for the whole trip. So if the whole trip took 5 hours, how long did you drive at 52 miles per hour?
Half of 5.
Do I know it's half?
No, actually, no, you don't.
Do I have a clue that I took half of my 5 and drove here and half of it drove here? Probably wouldn't end up working out because I times this by 2.5 and this by 2.5 and it might not be right. So what you can do in here is just put an X. And what do I know about when I did my second part of my trip? Well, if the total trip took 5 hours, that means if I spent an hour driving at 52 miles per hour, how long did I spend driving at?
5 minus X.
Yeah. So it's going to be 5 minus X because it's the difference in the amount of time I used here to the amount of time that I had for the total trip. So put it in relationship. So 52 times X. The total trip was this, so part of the trip was this, plus the other part of the trip times 5 minus X. And now I need to solve it. So now it looks like the stuff we had back in chapter 2 that we solved before. So let's finish it. So I get 298 is equal to 52x, 64 times 5. What's that going to give you? What do you get with that one? 320? Okay. 64 times a negative x is a negative 64x. Combine like things, so if I put 52x and a negative 64 together, okay, plus 320. Then, to get x by itself, I subtract 320. So, 320 minus 298. What do you get? Negative 22 equals a negative 12x. Divide by negative 12. And so negative 22 divided by 12, negative 12. What do I get?
It's like 1.83.
1.83. Okay. Or if I go on my calculator and go math, go to fraction and hit enter, it's going to give me 11/6. I don't know how they, I think you can do either one in Hawks. I think you're okay. So how many hours did it take to get back the other direction? So now I need both times. So this time, this 11/6 or this 1.83 is here. How much was the second time? So how much time was spent on the other one? So minus 5 from that. And what do I end up with? Or 5 minus 1.83. So how many hours are spent at 64 miles per hour? 3.16. Or 17 actually, if I round it off. And in some cases it'll tell you in Hawks where to round. So pay close attention. That's the one we messed up there and didn't get the right answer in. But be careful with that so you make sure you know which one is which. And so my two answers on this one are 1.83 and 3.17. Or if I turn that into a fraction, it would end up being 19/6 would be my answer for that one. Okay or not okay? What do you think? Okay, so recapping it, what did we do? We went through and found they gave us 2 miles per hour. Sometimes this is the piece that changes in here, and it's not the times, but it can be this piece that you end up getting into those two parts. And then your total time was your 5 hours that you had in there, and the total trip. So then 52 times x, 64 times 5 minus x, and we worked the whole thing out and got our two answers. Okay, yes or no? Okay. The next one that's in your sheet is this one, and it's interest equals principal times rate times time. So I got 3 pieces of stuff I need to find in here. And it says, a woman has had $30,000 invested for 1 year. So 1 year, what's 1 year in my formula?
Your time,
Time. What's the 30,000? Do we know?
the investment.
So that must be interest. Principal is what you invest. so that must be my principal, correct? Okay. Some with a savings and loan which pays 6%, and the rest at a high risk stock that pays 10% for the year. If her interest income last year was this amount, how much did she have in the savings and loan, and how much did she invest in the stocks? So we know we have stocks, we have savings and loan. So what do I know about those two pieces? Is there anything? Yes or no? Well, I know it's a year, so my time doesn't have anything to do with it. I've got rates, 6% and 10%, so that means I have 0.06 and 0.1 for my rates. Do I know how much she invested at 6%?
No.
So that must be
X.
x. So 0.06x plus 0.1. How much did she invest at 10%? Do we know that piece?
X. You don't know.
Yeah, but if we know she invested some here, but she invested a total, remember our total was 30,000? It's kind of like this one up above here where we had the 5 hours minus the number of hours that were used. It's like the same thing, because if she puts 10,000 here, what did she put here?
10,000. Well,
If she has 10,000 here, how much does she have at 10%? If she's got a total of 30.
I don't know.
If 10,000's here, how much does she have at the other one? So it's 30 minus 10, right? Would be 20. But because I don't know how much she has here, it's going to be 30,000 minus X. And that's all going to equal her interest, which is 2,550. Yes or no? So far so good or not?
No, I don't know. I just don't get the brain work.
Okay. Now, the reason you've got a difference here is because part of this 30,000, so 30,000 is what you have, but part of that 30,000 is what's going to get invested in there. And so you've got that piece that's happening in that spot. And so you've got your varieties, your stuff in here. So if I solve it, I have 0.06x, 10% of 30,000. So 30,000 times 0.1 gives me 3,000. Oops. Minus 0.1x. Put my x's together, leaves me a negative 0.04x. Subtract 3,000 from both sides. That leaves me 0.04 negative x is equal to 500 bucks. Divide by, and it's a negative 500. And divide that by 0.04. Right, negative 0.04. A negative divided by a negative cancels each other out. So I have $12,500 is invested.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's negative 450. I don't know how you guys got that.
Oh, negative 450. Thank you. That will make a big difference. So negative 450 divided by negative 0.04 should be 11,250 bucks. She's invested at 6%. What did she invest at 10%? And how can I find it? Well, plug it back into this piece. So 30,000 minus that.
18,750.
Now, when you put your answers into Hawks, your Hawks will show you at 6%, and it'll give you a box, and at 10%, it'll give you a box, and you just stick your information into those boxes when you find them. Okay? Some in Hawks will ask you to fill out your chart, so you have to put your pieces in, and other ones it's just you solve it.
Yeah,
The chart? Yeah. There's charts on some and other ones they don't have charts, so it depends on what one you have happening with those. Okay, another one, and this one's kind of, they throw one of these in. They don't give you a whole lot of them. But it kind of goes back to what we had did in, I think we had one similar to this back in a different section that we were working on. It says the Berries sold their house after paying the real estate agent a commission of 6% of the selling price, then paying $1,486 in other costs, and $90,000 on the mortgage. They received this amount back. What was the selling price of the house? Selling price minus the cost equals what they get back for their principal, or their profit, is what we've got going. So, do I know anything about the selling price? What did they sell the house for?
90,000. Wait, no, wait. That's what we don't know.
Nope, no idea on the selling price. Okay, so selling price is S. So S equals selling price. What happens to this? Well, the selling price is what they sold the house for. Now we got to start taking away from it stuff that we know we're going to cut off of that. So they gave the real estate agent 6% commission. So what's the 6% on? What the 6%'s on?
The amount that the house was sold for.
Right, do I know that amount?
No.
So that's going to be 0.06S, because that's the selling price, minus this price, which is 1,486. That one's a straightforward amount. Plus, we got to take off the old mortgage. But when they got all done, they made $49,514 on all of that. Okay? Yes or no? We had the price of the house we know nothing about, the selling price. We know there was a commission off of that selling price. We know there's a flat fee that they had to pay, and then they had to pay the mortgage off, and so that comes out to be our spot here. So if I put this one S and a negative 0.06S together, what does that give me?
0.94S.
I put a negative 1,486 plus this 90,000, that gives me a negative 91,486.
I don't know if I did that right.
Or make my S look like an S. You might start thinking it's a 5 in there. Move my 91,000 over. So 0.94S is equal to, and add these together, and if I add those together, what does that come up to be? Add this part. 141,000, I think.
141.
Divide that by 0.94, and we get the selling price of the house to be $50,000. So that's the selling price of our house. Yes or no? Okay. Questions? Okay. Another one. Means or averaging. We did averaging back in chapter 1, I think it was, where you add everything up, divide it by how many things you have to get your answer. Well, in here, one of our pieces is going to be missing that we need to find, and so when you go through and do this one, you're going to have your pieces, but you're going to have a missing part in it. It says, while riding her bike to the ocean and back home 7 times, Monica timed herself at 66 minutes, 63, 64, 60, 70, 52, and 55 minutes. She had set a goal of averaging 60 minutes for her ride. How many minutes will she need to spend on her 8th ride to obtain her goal? So if I'm averaging, she wants to get 60 minutes. So what does that mean? Well, that means I need to take all of these and add them together. 66 plus 63 plus 64 plus 60 plus 70 plus 52 plus 55. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And she wants on her 8th ride to obtain this. Has she ridden the 8th one yet?
So plus n, or x,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever.
Yeah. And we're going to divide that answer by 8, but that needs to equal 60. What will she have to have? So if I solve it, I'm going to multiply everybody by 8, because that'll get rid of my denominator, so that's gone. So 66 plus 63 plus 64 plus 60 plus 70 plus 52 plus 55 plus n is going to equal 480. Add all them together.
Wait, how did you get?
Yep. 8 times
Oh, 6.
60. Mm-hmm.
No, we don't.
Because 60 is her, what she wants. 60 is the value that she wants to get for this. And so 60 becomes your answer at the
Oh,
tail
I didn't
end.
get 480, I got 430 somehow.
Over here you get 430.
Okay.
Okay. Because this is, I haven't added these together, so you get 430 plus n equals 480. Okay.
Okay, so
Then to solve for n, I'm going to subtract 430.
Why are you only timesing one side by 8?
I times this side by 8 too, because 8 was my denominator. This side it cancels, and this side gets multiplied by 8 as well. These cancel here.
So you don't do nothing at the top with the multiplying by
Nope, because
okay.
it's just the whole denominator is your 8. So 480 minus 30 is 50. So she needs to do the last one in 50 minutes, and she would have averaged her 60 in there. Will she make it? What do you think? With all these numbers, she hasn't gotten a 50 in anything yet, so I don't know. She's got to ride really fast in order to do it. So she'd need to do it in about 50 minutes. Now you can use this for your grades as well, because you put your test scores up here. The test that you want to take, divide it by that and what score you want to get, and you can end up solving and figuring out what you need on your test to get a certain average for those. So same thing works with that one. Okay, another kind. It says if 18, and these are just number problems, so if 18 is added to a number, the result is 44 less than twice the number. So what does that tell you? We've been doing these for a while in here.
I know how to do these ones. Hallelujah.
One you know how to do. All right, good deal. So what is it going to be? 18 added to a number. The results, what's the results mean?
equal to.
Equals 44 less than twice the number. So how do I put that?
So it'll be 4 minus 2x.
Nope.
2x minus 44.
Yeah, or 2n, whichever you're using, minus 44. Be careful because it says less than twice the number, so that means that twice the number has to come first. And then you just solve it like we've been doing. So minus n. Add 44. And you find out that 18 plus 44 equals 62, so n must be 62.
You know, I didn't get that. Right.
Okay? So n must be 62.
I feel like you said this one.
Okay. That one's kind of a straightforward one. So does it work? 18 plus 62 equals 2 times 62 minus 44. 8 and 2 is 10. 6, 7, 80. And 2 times 62 is 140. No. 124 minus 44 does equal 80. So we know we did it right. Okay. Another one. And I will post in your Canvas page. One of the other instructors did a train one, and he wrote it all out, and I'll post it in your Canvas if you want to take a peek at what he did with one of these, because it fits right in with your stuff that we've got going. Also, I think I have to fix your dates for your homework. I think your homework dates are off, aren't they? Or just remember that I got to fix those. Okay, a train leaves Boston at 2 p.m. A second train leaves the same city in the same direction at 4 p.m. So what that means is we've got this train going down here, and it left at 2 p.m. The second train leaves the same spot, but it leaves at 4 p.m. So far, so good? Okay. The second train travels 60 miles per hour faster than the first. What in the world does that mean? Travels 60 miles per hour faster than the first.
So you don't know.
What don't I know? Who don't I know anything about?
The first one's going.
The first one, I don't know what its rate is, right? But what do I know about the second one?
It's the second one.
Mm-hmm.
It's going 60 miles per hour faster.
So what does that mean? If this one's traveling at 40 and this one's going to go 60 miles faster, it means it's going to be traveling at 40 plus 60. So if I don't know how fast this one's traveling, but I know this one's traveling at 60, that's going to be R
So 60 plus X.
plus 60 or X plus 60, whichever you want to use. Yep. If the second train overtakes the first at 6 p.m., what is the speed of each train? So what don't I know? What don't I know anything about? What are they doing? Well, how long has this top train been on? Because they cross each other's path at 6 p.m. What's my time on this top train? How long has it been on the track? 4 hours? How do you know that?
6 o'clock from 2 o'clock.
Yep. 2 from 6 leaves me with 4 hours is my time. What's my time on the second one? 4 to 6 is 2 hours. So if you were to chart this, maybe that would be a better way in which we can take a look at this. Train 1, its rate at train 1 is R. Train 2, its rate is R plus 60. Time-wise, first train is 4 hours that's on the track. Second train is 2 hours. And what do we know about the distance? Are they on the same track? They're leaving from the same station, heading in the same direction. Hopefully they're not on the same track. But the distance is the same. So what that means is both of these can be set equal to each other for distance. R times 4 is 4R, plus 2 times R plus 60 is going to end up equaling, they end up equaling each other because they are both traveling the same distance from the train station. So my equation is 4R is equal to 2 times R plus 60. So 4R, 2 times R is 2R, 2 times 60 is 120. Move my 2R over. 4R minus 2R is 2R equals 120. Divide by R. So the first train is traveling at 60 miles per hour because R is equal to 60. How fast is the second train traveling? The second train is at 60 for R plus 60, or 120 would be how fast it's traveling. So you got your 2 pieces in there. Okay or not okay? Okay. If you chart them, it might end up helping you out a little bit more with those. So let's take a look at another one. Annette has 6 hours to spend training for an upcoming race. She completes her training by running full speed the distance of the race and walks back the same distance to cool down. If she runs at a speed of 8 miles per hour and walks at a speed of 4 miles per hour, how long would she plan to spend walking back? We'll set this one up, not necessarily solve it. So she runs and she walks. Distance equals rate times time. So what do I know in here? Do I know anything? No. Let's go through and look. Total time is 6 hours. She runs and she walks. She runs at a speed of 8 miles per hour and she walks at a speed of 4. What do we know about her distance? Do we know anything about the distance? She completes her training by running full speed the distance of the race and walks back. So that means she runs this way, but then she turns around and walks back. So what do I know about my distance? Runs this way? They're equal. So that means that my two, whether she runs or she walks, the two are going to be equal to each other because the distance is the same. So what do I know about time? Time's my missing piece. So how long did she, total of 6 hours. Okay. Now keep in mind when they say total, that means that needs to be broken apart between the two. And if you can get the idea that if she goes X amount of times here, how much is the other one? 6 minus X. 6 minus X. Because if she spent 2 hours here, she'd take 4 hours to walk back. Okay? So what's my two pieces? So running is 8X. And walking is 4 times 6 minus X. So 8X. 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times X is a minus 4X. And then we are going to get the X's together. So 8 plus 4 is 12X. So 12X equals 24. Divide by 12. So X is equal to? 2. So it takes her 2 hours to run. And how many hours to walk back? 4. She's a busy lady. How far is the race? Can I calculate that? You can by putting 2 into here. 2 times 18 is 16. So the race itself is 16 miles in length for that one. Okay, another one, and then we'll hold off here. 2 planes, which are 2,625 miles apart, fly towards each other. Okay, planes are flying towards each other. So what do we know about them? They fly towards each other. It says their speed differs by 75 miles per hour. So what does that mean? Plane 1? Plane 2? They might be on different levels. A lot of times planes fly in different levels. So we're not going to hit each other. So what's this first plane's rate? X. Okay. What's the second plane's rate? Yep. Okay. If they pass each other in 3 hours, so it's 3 hours here and it's 3 hours there, what is the speed of each? So this means if they're going to pass each other, it means this plane's going to fly this amount of distance and this is going to fly this amount. So this plane plus this plane will equal the 2,625. So what do we know? Rate times time. So X times 3 or 3X plus 3 times X plus 75. And we can end up solving this thing. So 2,625. 3x. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 75. 225. So I have 6x plus 325, or 225, is equal to 2,625 minus 225. And I find that I end up with 2,400 equals 6x. Divide by 6. So x, the first plane is flying at 400. And the second plane,
400 plus
75.
475.
Okay. Now, within Hawks, there's going to be more story problems, similar kinds of story problems. They give you a wide variety in this section. So do be aware of that there will be some other ones that will pop up in there. So take your time with them. Again, it's work through it. Maybe go back and do the instruct part, because in there it gives you some ideas. Also the tutoring part. You're going to find you're going to be hitting tutor a few different times in here, so that it gives you an idea of what to do with these. So just be aware of that.